and then just decide, you know, if that's something that some of you might want to really grab a hold of and start something of this nature. And we can advance this. The leadership team has talked with this group and shared with us what was going on. We thought it was good enough that something we might want to do. So we wanted to present it to you as well. 3 speakers. The first one is Bill Ray Lewis. He's going to be the primary speaker today. We got a box full of stuff that I carried in for him down from Harrison, Arkansas. And he has spent a career in the school system. Ended up as assistant superintendent. He was an administrator, a teacher, and everything. Is that about right?
Custodian.
For 1,000 years. Custodian, bus driver. The whole 9 yards. He was a really good bus driver. All that other stuff I'm not sure about. But then we got Joy McCutcheon. Now Joy is an attorney. Okay. He's considered one of the good ones. Okay? And he's from Fort Smith. And we're glad to have him because sometimes when you get into this FOIA stuff, you need to have some legal counsel and some guidance. And Joy's the man for that. So he'll be able to share a few things about what's going on. And we're glad we have Joy with us. And then Mike Gaddy's here. And he needs no introduction, so I'm not going to introduce him. And some of you, most of you know him, and some of you don't want to know him. But Mike is a good guy when he's around. He's a constitutional scholar, and we're just glad that he's with us. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Bill and let him take it away as soon as he's ready to take it away.
I'm all set.
You're set? Okay. And you need this mic.
You were right, David, when you told me a while ago. David was right a while ago when you told me a while ago that his wife was a looker. And I met her a while ago, and I saw her looking at 2 or 3 of you men here. You are gorgeous.
I think you are politicians.
Never run for anything in my life except my wife. That's the only thing I've ever. I'm going to pass around, if I will. I know you have, most of you have, a copy of this little brochure. But I've written something here that may help you know a little bit more about FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, if you don't. This is not copyrighted if you want to use it. David, if you'll pass I think all of these, there's about 50 there. And it looks like we've got some of you here over 50. I said a while ago, honey, I'm the oldest person here, I'll bet. I want to bet back here. We bet $1,000, didn't we? Okay. Are you the oldest here? I was born in 1937. No one here older than me is. Are you older than I am?
Born 1934.
Oh, usually I'm the oldest in the group, and I get paid for that, but I won't get paid today, I guess. Seriously, it is a pleasure to be with you all today. I have heard so much about you all. David Crow has bragged about you as he bragged about his wife. And we were here, Joy and Mike, about, 2 or 3 months ago. I think it met with a core group of yours. Very impressed with you folks. We've heard some good things about you. And I predict that you'll hear some more good things about you. One of the things that I'd like to mention, in 1966, about that time, former governor, came here, and you probably know who I'm talking about, from New York, somewhere in New York State. Came here, and the state was primarily a Democratic state in terms of the Democratic Party. If you were here, you remember that. When Governor Rockefeller started sending out his lieutenants to get information about, this guy right here knows how to eat. Look at this. When he started sending out his lieutenants to get information about what was going on in Arkansas, guess what happened? They shut him down. No one would say. No one would say what happened. No one would say whose salary was what. Or no one would say getting sets of minutes or financial reports or things like that. And lo and behold, One of the signature piece, I guess, Joy, of Governor Rockefeller at that time, was to get this law passed that we now call a Sunshine Law or an Open Records Law or the Freedom of Information Act law. And that little booklet that you will have, I think, right at the very beginning of that is the actual law itself. And what does that law do then? It really gives us as citizens the right to ask for documentation, all kinds of records. If you want to know what your neighbor's taxes are, you have a right to know that. If you want to know what the superintendent's school salary is, or the teachers are making, you have a right to know that through this law. I think if Governor Rockefeller were to come back in life today, I think he would say that was probably one of his greatest accomplishments here in Arkansas, was to get that law passed so that you and I and our offspring and our loved ones and our kinfolk could have a little window looking into the operation of government. And I don't know about you. I'm a school administrator, retired. I've had 47 years of dealing with the public and feeding from the public trough. You paid my salary. You raised my family. You bought my tires and my car and my antifreeze and my air conditioners. So I owe a lot to the public. But folks, I don't know that a lot of government officials, once they get into office, realize that or feel that way. So this little law helps you and I maybe better hold accountable to what's going on in our governmental circles. If you'll look down at this little sheet that I put together here, as far as I know, I've never seen anything like that. That's kind of all the ideas that we had in our TIGG group in Boone County. You'll see that we've got a lot of the words encourages, all spread throughout that. And if you'll look at that, you'll see where the FOIA, in our opinion, and I'll bet you could add as a group a lot more to this. Look at number 2, for instance. Tony, it says, and I can read, by the way, you didn't read that good, because I'm smarter than I live now. Don't sell me short now. Number 2 says what, Tony? Encourages
the citizens of Williams County, Arkansas, to become more knowledgeable about governmental affairs.
Right. And we could say the same thing about every one of the other 74 counties in Arkansas. And we would hope that if you as a group or you as a subgroup to decide to really look into and learn this FOIA and apply it to what you may be doing, we hope that this will be true in your case. Look at number 8, I believe. Encourages public understanding and legitimate use of the law. It's ours. It's our right to ask for our neighbor's tax bill and what our neighbor pays for personal property taxes. Did you know you can do that? And your neighbor can also ask for yours. Do you know, look at number 11. Encourages public employees to exhibit a high degree of honesty. Future elected official back here. High degree of honesty and integrity in all their dealings with the public. Folks, this ain't happening. This ain't happening across the country. Why do we have a Tea Party on? You evidently see some problems maybe in the way things are going. We saw it. We just had night before last, Joey, and Mike, we had night before last, 250 people at a public forum that our group sponsored in cooperation with Tony's group and American Speaks. That's a tremendous group. Tony, I might wish somebody to ask her to say something about that after the problem. We had 250 people there really lambasting, and I mean lambasting, what was happening in our local hospital there. They don't like what's going on there. It's a closed camp, almost. the county, 1997, leased out the hospital facilities to a nonprofit board. The nonprofit board right now will tell you, it's none of your business what we're doing under FOIA. We don't have to meet FOIA. But that's a lie. If you go back and look at what the attorney generals have said, it is, they aren't responsible for it. So, number 11, again, it encourages employees to exhibit a high degree of honesty and integrity. Look at number 19. How many of you have ever heard of the drop plan in Arkansas, the T-drop plan? Anybody ever heard that? Have you ever talked to the guy that came up with that idea? Just a little simple. Wait, where are you at?
I haven't talked to them.
You think you're talking to him now? Yeah, you are. You are. One little simple idea. And again, look at number 21. Is that number 21, I believe I said? 19, I'm sorry. Encourages a willingness of the public to seek policy and statute changes and revisions when deemed necessary by the citizens. In 1995, I was able to, for some reason, and I was just a poor country boy outside of Harrison. Dirt floors in our house, chickens in the kitchen, outdoor plumbing, no insulation in the house, no running water, no radio, no magazines. A little simple idea that said, and that led into a drop plan now for all of the educators, all judges, all state police, all state workers, all highway transportation people, that has literally pumped into the pocketbooks and savings accounts billions of dollars since 1995. And I'm a recipient of it too. So you as a citizen, me as a citizen, if we will exercise our rights and come up with some ideas, it's amazing what we can do in terms of revising laws or reviewing laws or getting laws passed. Don't undersell what you can do as the Faulkner County Tea Party, or whatever our official name is, David. Is that what it is? That's what I thought. Don't undersell yourself, what you can do as a group. So all we're trying to say here is this law encourages this. And I'll bet you, if we sit here for another 15 or 20 minutes, you could probably come up with another 22 or 23 more. It's a fantastic law.
Can you give us an example? What was that drop?
The drop plan, back in when we came up with that idea, when I came up with the idea in October of 1994, teachers were retiring in Arkansas in full benefit at the end of 30 years, or when I believe they were 60 years of age. I said to a group, because we had hired a gentleman from the State Department as a principal at Harrison. He was making, I don't know, 55, 60,000, whatever it was. But he was making too much money under our present system. Sort of like it used to be a Social Security. He was making too much money. He had to give some of it back. And I said, this is crazy. This is crazy. So I started driving around the state and talking and calling people. And I found out that all around the state of Arkansas, where people could go to Oklahoma or Texas or Louisiana or Missouri, what were they doing? They were retiring here, putting in their 30 years, staying in their home, driving over into Pineville, Missouri, or over into Oklahoma a ways, and starting another career. And I said, we're losing some good people. Why don't we make it possible for them to just keep on, draw their retirement, and keep on working? And so this is how this all came about. It's a fantastic law. And lo and behold, I found out, Michael, that Louisiana had a program like this before we did. It wasn't as good as that, but they had one. They had a drop plan. So I called the director there of the state teacher retirement system, and sure enough, they had a program, and we built from that. The idea, I guess, came here, but at least I was maybe alert enough to know there's somewhere else we can go to find some answers also. So we've got a pretty good law right now. But it just, I say all of that to show you, don't sell yourself as an individual. Don't sell yourself as a group short. Because there's all kinds of intellect in this room right here. Have any of you women ever, she's eating a piece of pizza. Excuse me for picking on you. She's eating a piece of pizza. Men love to, as soon as you take a runny, cheery pie out of an oven, what do they like to do? Eat it. They want you to cut a piece of it out and eat it while it's hot. So they burn their mouth. Men are we're not very smart, are we? Have you women ever thought about, if I cut that piece of pie out, the filling is probably hot and more liquid. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's going to run off. It's going to run out. What do you do to keep that from running out if you want your husband or your boyfriend or someone else's husband to eat a piece of that pie? What do you do?
Get a spoon so you can get more of it.
Get a spoon. It just keeps running out, doesn't it? It just keeps running out. Well, in about 1979, the little lady from Emporia, Kansas, or Jayhawker State, my wife, before we got married, first pie she baked me was an apple pie. And I did the same doggone thing, Tony. I had her cut me a piece of that pie. And what happened? It started running out. She grabbed a piece of foil and made a little dam and stopped it.
Save the pie.
Since I'm smarter than my wife, I said, let's patent something and sell it. And the next year, I said the same thing. Let's patent something and sell it. And the next year, I said the same thing. Let's patent something and sell it. And I said that for about 35 years. We never did patent it and sell it. She went to Branson. About 2004, I believe, 2005. And she came home, David. Guess what she had in her hand? And I was going to call it Pie Dam. Pie Dam. Excuse my language. That's what I was going to call it. She came home with a little device, $3.98, Pie Dam. And you can buy one, I'll bet you, at Walmart right now. I say that to tell you, don't let your ideas, like I did mine, slip away. You've got some good ideas. But when you get into looking at FOIA, if you don't understand anything about it, it's a very, very simple law. But you've got more authority and more rights than you could ever imagine by being able to know this law and know what your rights are. My main disagreement with people that I deal with is this. This is my main disagreement. We're too timid. Do you do that every day like that, or are you
I've been saying the same thing for years.
Scared me to death. I thought something was wrong. I don't usually have people clap for anything I say. They usually try to pitch me out. Okay.
Really?
No, thank you. But I'm saying, if you learn what your rights are and learn how to apply those rights and not timid in applying those rights, you're going to make some things happen. We've got too many people willing to just sit back and do nothing. And I love your prayer. And the Bible is full of that, of people just willing to sit back and not willing to do God's will or what they know is right. We're all guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. One of my pet peeves is to see somebody jump in line ahead of somebody else. Boy, if you want to stir my Irish and Cherokee Indian and German, just step in front of them and stop your place. You'll get a piece of my mind. But I've seen people that happen to them over and over again, and they just sit back and they don't do it. This FOIA law gives you all kinds of authority and power to do what needs to be done. And I've always said, and this is why I respect this gentleman right here is one, he's got to be the best lawyer ever born. He's got to be. He's the finest fellow I've ever seen, I guess, besides Michael. But if you know what your rights are, that brings power to you, that brings authority to you. Who spoke in the Bible? Who spoke with probably the most authority? Besides Jesus. Boy, when Jesus said it, or when Moses said it, or when Joy McCutcheon says it, you know that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And they knew the rules, they knew the regulations, they knew what their rights were. Jesus always knew he had the Father's hand on his shoulder, didn't he? Because I was always taught he was the Father. You see? So that's the message I want to get to you all, if you will, to learn that little simple law, but mainly learn what your rights are, that you have those rights. And the legislature in Arkansas has bestowed those rights on us as citizens. One of the things that Joy, I'm sure we'll talk about this, and Joy, I won't steal into your thunder, but one of the things we've got to watch out for, because we've seen the same thing in our drop plan, is there are people who will be constantly trying to weaken that, water it down. Constantly. You'll see that in our family values. You'll see that in products that we buy. People are constantly weakening, watering down many of the things that we hold dear. If you will, one of the things I'd like to leave you with, and then Joy, it's, I guess, David, you're next here. One of the things I'd like to leave you with is this. If you as an organization tackle a subject or an issue or a problem, and we found this out, I guess, in Harrison, I would encourage you to not all of you be interested necessarily in the same thing. Some of you will be adept at looking at school issues, educational issues. Some will be interested in looking at tax issues or the increasing of tax issues. Some will be interested in watching what the quorum court does. Some will be interested in watching what maybe the other various public agencies do, the health department or whatever. And what I have found is any organization that tries to force everybody to be interested in the same thing, you're going to have some burnout. Because all of us as people have interest probably in different things. Even in our TIGG group, in our transparency government group, some of us are more interested maybe in what happens at the hospital than some of us are interested in what happens at the quorum court. So I would encourage you, if you establish, and boy, I hope that you will. I hope that you will establish an interest in learning this law and applying this law here, at least in your county. At least in your county. I've always said, too, that if you have a small subgroup willing to learn about FOIA issues, that subgroup then, David, can be a tremendous resource to these other groups that are investigating the hospital or tax service or assessor's office or whatever. And that's kind of what we preached up in our home county, that the FOI, almost anything you do, if you have a concern on anything governmental, it's going to involve, ultimately, open records, sunshine law, FOIA, freedom of information. And I think I've said this to the key group that we met with when we were down here before, and thank you all for having us down here. Gracious folks, I'll tell you for sure, is that the problem of wanting to investigate one particular thing is really best left to maybe a group of people who are very interested in this. Let me just, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I like this guy right here. I'm going to point to him. May I ask you, do you have any particular thing in government, connected to government, that you're more interested in than other things? Any one thing?
Yes.
Okay. Could you share it with us? Would you mind sharing it with us?
Oh, not at all. I'd like to get rid of the IRS.
Okay. Well, I would too. Thank you. I do. I like Joy, I'd almost hug his neck. I really would.
Especially I'd like to get rid of the income tax.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
no reason we should be.
I'd say the same thing. You buy some pizza, just charge me a little sales tax on it.
Right.
Way to go. But see, if that be true with him or me or you or anyone else, then it would be great. It would be great. Sorry that you're leaving. I'm sorry I offended you.
Well, I just can't help myself.
It would be great for him then if he works if you have a project, you'll put him in charge maybe of looking at taxation or taxes. We're going to have, by the way, in Boone County one of these days shortly, a seminar, a workshop, a public forum on taxes in Boone County. We're going to have the treasurer there, we're going to have the assessor there, we're going to have the collector there. We're going to find out what has to be assessed. You'd be surprised how much untaxed stuff we have in a lot of our counties. It's not being taxed, it's not being assessed. You'd be surprised. So whatever you do, if you and I hope that you will, I hope that you'll have I wouldn't say necessarily the whole group has to know everything about FOIA. I hope that you will. But I would suggest to you, and from our experience at least, that maybe just a small group of you really be the authorities here in this group on FOIA and advise everybody else. Another group be authority on what's happening in the court of courts. In other words, don't burn yourselves out by having to be knowledgeable about everything. I'm not very smart on some things. I can't be. I'm human. You can't be. But I can be smart on a few little things, see? And that way it doesn't burn me out at night. But I'm so appreciative of the fact of being able to come down and talk to you all. This is a wonderful, wonderful law. I might mention one other thing, that I noticed how many office holder potentials do we have here now? Back in the back, sir, you okay. One of the things that I picked out, this was in the Rogers Morning News, and I want these guys and girls that are running for office to remember this. Brenda Blagg is a friend of mine, and she may be a friend. I think Joy, I think you know her. Brenda was a college student. She's a freelance writer for the Democrat Gazette. I think she was a college student when Governor Rockefeller went to the legislature and got the FOIA passed. And she writes a column. This was published December the 29th of 2010. She starts out her column here and says, here are a couple of New Year resolutions for those who serve in public office in Arkansas. And I'm looking right at you. And you. Here are a couple of New Year's resolutions. Remember first that the people rule. Isn't that amazing? The people rule. And then this is their government, and they have a right to know what's been done in the name of the money. That's how FOIA can help. Thank you very much.
All right, well, I appreciate y'all having me today. You know, one of the things Bill Ray talked about was number 2 on the list here, and that is to become more knowledgeable about government affairs. Because we all know knowledge is power. And to me, that's what FOIA is all about. It's about knowledge, and it's about giving us, as we the people, the power we need to hold government accountable. Because I think we all understand that there's I'll now say 4 ways to hold government accountable. One of them is the ballot box. One of them is the jury box. One of them is the cartridge box. And the other one is this thing called FOIA, which is the sunshine box.
Did you say cartridge?
Cartridge. Second Amendment. Yeah. Bill Ray has been instrumental in our transparency group in Fort Smith. We formed the Western Arkansas Transparency Group, and I would strongly encourage you all to do that. One of the things I tell people across the state when I'm speaking to different groups is that the Faulkner County Tea Party is leading the way. You know, Sebastian County Tea Party is just. We're just not doing what we need to do, and because we've got to hold government accountable. I am a lawyer, and I'm proud to be a lawyer. I consider myself to be a deterrence lawyer, and I do that before juries. That's one way I do it, because conduct rewarded is conduct repeated. But I also do it, and one of the main things I've seen is that. FOIA is a way to hold government accountable, because if you don't hold folks accountable, we all know what's going to happen. It's going to happen again and again and again. And so I think we've got to not only be sayers, we've got to be doers. We can sit in rooms like this all day long, and we can talk, we can preach to the choir, but if we're not getting out like you all are, in the legislature. For example, the last legislative session, it was the biggest assault on FOIA that we've ever seen. And who did we elect that we thought was going to cure the problem? Well, we elected a bunch of Republicans, and you can't tell the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. Whether that's starting with our governor and working the way down the ladder. I mean, you cannot tell the difference. And so we have to hold folks accountable, and FOIA is a great instrument to do that, and they know that. And so there was an assault on FOIA in the Capitol, and that will continue in 2019. There will be more and more attacks, more and more exemptions from FOIA. For example, I don't have time to go into a lot of it, but they had a bill in the Capitol which would have made Governor Rockefeller's FOIA, taken it from the absolute strongest and made it the weakest law in the country. And all it was an exception that said if they put their lawyer, if they CC this to their lawyer, it's not going to be FOIAble. It's not going to be discoverable. And that is, and we fought that so hard. We finally beat it back, but it'll be up again. One of the things that happened as a result of the last legislative session was the FOIA task force. And I know that the Faulkner County Tea Party was represented in the last FOIA task force meeting. And that's going to be a great venue. But it'll only be a great venue if we, the people, are down there expressing our opinions. In Fort Smith, we're doing some good things with FOIA, and as Bill Ray alluded to, when you hold government accountable, excuse my language, but they get pissed off. And it's like Bill Ray is an enemy. It's like Joy McCutcheon's an enemy of government. I'm not an enemy of government. I just want them to do their business, their public business before me. I don't want them doing it on secret email chains, secret text messages, and other ways. So in recent months, I've filed several lawsuits and have been successful on several. One of the first ones was I started paying attention to the Fort Smith Public Schools when they took away our Southside mascot, the Rebel mascot, in secret. It's an important issue to me. I went to Southside. I'm a Southerner. I believe in what happened. I believe in history. I don't think we should revise history. And they wanted to revise history overnight. And they did it secretly. So that really got me to watching the Fort Smith School Board. We appealed that case all the way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court, politically correct, did everything they could do to find against us, and they found against us. But I kept on watching the school board. And year before last, I saw that, how in the world did they just elect this board? There was no discussion about their officers. So I made a mental note of that. I said, if it happens next year, I'm going to FOIA them. I'm going to use the open records portion of that. So I FOIA'd them. And I asked for all emails about discussing their election of their officers. And lo and behold, you know what happened. They elected their officers on an email chain. Well, I fought them, filed a motion for summary judgment. The judge granted it. So that's one down. And so they pay attention now. They're a little bit more open. And then the city of Fort Smith. Watching the city of Fort Smith. Filed a FOIA case against the city of Fort Smith. There was and most of the time they're doing their secret business when it's a volatile issue. And they wanted to do away with our Civil Service Commission, and so I FOIA'd them, and I asked for all emails relating to this Civil Service Commission. Lo and behold, and it was a matter that was going to come before vote. Lo and behold, there was secret email chains where they had made their decision in private, and so the judge and so I don't want to waste taxpayer dollars, but one of the things you need to keep an eye on are these lawyers who are representing school boards, cities. They're spending an ungodly sum of money representing these folks, and so I FOIA those bills routinely, and it's amazing what you can find just by doing that. But the judge eventually granted a summary judgment in that case. Before that, though, to save the taxpayer dollars, I said, all you have to do, city, is admit that there was a FOIA violation and promise you'll never do it again, and have the judge sign off on that order, and we can be done with wasting more taxpayer dollars. Well, lo and behold, I got to thinking, well, maybe they're having a secret meeting about this discussion. So I FOIA'd them again. Lo and behold, the same group having secret email discussion. So I amended my lawsuit and brought that as another FOIA violation. Now what they've done, and the judge eventually granted summary judgment in that case. Another FOIA case, very recent, got another summary judgment in the case. Mansfield, their city board wanted to do away with the powers of the mayor, and I started thinking to myself, they're doing this secretly. I mean, they were lambasting him in public, but I'm like, there is no way that they could have had their votes lined up like they did. So I FOIA'd them. I asked for all text message and email. Lo and behold, guess what? They had done their business by text message. They signed the summary judgment motion. So what now? I've gotten 3 separate orders where judges are saying, you let it happen again, and the next time you'll be prosecuted.
Why did they prosecute it the first time?
Well, good question. And the other part of the FOIA.
If I speed, I get prosecuted the first time.
That's a good point, Paul, and I agree with you. I've been to, and sometimes I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But what I generally do when I find a FOIA violation through open records, I'll go to the prosecutor. And I've asked, I want you to send them a letter, tell them they violated FOIA, don't do it again, and if they do it again, they're going to be prosecuted the next time. But that's discretion with the prosecutor. Now, when I found out that they were having this secret meeting about the same type of conduct, this secret email meeting on my attorney fee, when I told them settle the case and they're having a secret meeting about the settlement, I went to the prosecutor and I said, I think you need to prosecute him right now. He chose not to. The other FOIA case that I'm currently involved in, which I know all of you all are paying probably close attention to, is this Ecclesia College, the gift money, all the corruption that has occurred with gift money. I've been holding Jake Files accountable in Fort Smith. We had this little situation in Fort Smith where Jake Files was taking taxpayer dollars and building this park, and he just knew it was corrupt to the core. And then finally we found that gift money, general improvement fund, our taxpayer dollars had been stolen. In that case, it's legislative corruption. Unfortunately, Jake was involved in that. But right now we're involved in the Ecclesia College matter, where $700,000 of our taxpayer money is going to a private college in Northwest Arkansas. I mean, that just smells wrong. So a good friend of ours, Bill Ray, and our cohort in Jim Parsons in Northwest Arkansas, one of our TIGG groups, called me and said, I've asked for the records and they won't give me them. I said, well, I'll ask them. And of course they start saying, well, you file this, we're going to ask for sanctions against you and this and that. I'm fine, ask for sanctions. So we FOIA them. They will not give us the records. We've got a circuit court hearing shortly in this case, and they'll tell them what we're going to find out. So again, ways to hold government accountable.
The attorney that is for Ecclesia is one of the gentlemen that filed the bills in the legislature this past go-round to try and kill that whole idea. Is that correct? I think his name is Bill Bob Ballinger.
That's exactly right. And then you learn all these things. So Bob Ballinger is one of the legislators who gave Ecclesia College money. He gave them $5,000. Of course, I'm sure he had recruited others to give all the rest of the money. But the thing, when I got into this, we see that Bob Ballinger's partner is representing Ecclesia. Representative Bob Ballinger had in fact done work for Ecclesia. So, that's funneling money into something that's benefiting your own nest. So that's why it's important to pay attention to the ballot box, right? Bob Ballinger, thank goodness that Brian King has decided that he's going to run for that position, because elections matter. But Bob Ballinger, the same Bob Ballinger, was down at Little Rock, as David mentioned, in the legislative hearings. He was the chairman of that committee, and again treated our cohort Jim Parsons like he was a second-class citizen. They cut him off midstream from testifying. We waited for 2 days to testify. Let me see if there's... Fort Smith created what I call an email dump. Now they think the way they're going to get around FOIA is by dumping all their emails into an email dump. I mean, that doesn't get around FOIA. I mean, just because you want to put all your... because I need notice of that. If they want to give me notice every time, and I can watch this contemporaneously, fine, that's an open meeting. But otherwise, they're getting ready to violate FOIA again. We're going to have a meeting. I believe it's next Tuesday night. Our TIGG group is meeting, and we're going to have Robert Steinbuck, who's on the FOIA task force, and who also wrote the Bible on FOIA. What I call the Bible. You need to get the FOIA book. If you don't have it, it's a great book. Also, Rob Moritz will be speaking at our group, and he's on the FOIA task force also. One of the things that results from transparency, for example, with the school board, when I started holding them accountable, I said, look, you should be recording all your meetings. If somebody, and it can be done, just get your little camera and stick it on the wall and have somebody turn it on. I don't necessarily need to see it live, but I want to go back and I want to be able to watch it. I want to know what you're saying, because what I found is that the Fort Smith School Board they were doing all their business in these little committee meetings. And by the time they got to school board where everybody's watching, they had already done their business. So we got cameras installed where we can go and look. The other day, for example, on the open records I peppered them with a FOIA request on the millings that they're trying to ram down our throat in Fort Smith. You know, it's just, they've had this committee that they're doing, and it's just another consultant-driven way to increase our taxes. And I sent them, I told them I wanted all the discussions, and I wanted all the studies, and I wanted all those things. And I got a call from one of the school board members, and he said, you woke him up. He said, I got a call from the superintendent. And he was like, oh gosh, what have we done wrong? You know, so it does hold government accountable. David?
Yeah, let me, we're running out of time right now, but let me just, I saw a few hands jump up, because we do want to have Q&A right now. So, let's see, Paul's got a question. I got one over here right now.
Yes, I actually want to ask you 3 questions. One, I wanted to find out, is there a monetary judgment in these cases? 2, if there is, who pays for that? And 3, where does that money go? Who's receiving it?
Good question. And that's been a, you know, one of the problems I have with FOIA is there's really no teeth in it, because when we see a FOIA violation, I think the public business that they discussed illegally, everything should be wiped off the slate. But unfortunately, so. Is there a monetary judgment? Yes. Let's just say that I'm representing you. You can ask for attorney fees. Okay. What I've done every time is I've waived attorney fees. I have not taken one dime in attorney fees. Yeah, that's right.
I want him to take it.
Well,
stick it to them. That's when they will listen.
I guess, but when you're spending other people's
I
money,
know.
they don't care.
But guess what? The people who are actually coughing up the money will kick their lazy fannies out.
I think so, but I just don't. So I personally haven't taken it, but attorney fees is one way. For example, in this Fort Smith case that we tried all the way to Supreme Court, the school board lawyer charged over $100,000 to defend this. We've got a case right now that over a secret email exchange that the city of Fort Smith, in their infinite wisdom, is going to appeal to the Supreme Court, acting like they don't know what a meeting is. We had a case back in 2011 that my name is actually on, McCutcheon versus the city of Fort Smith. They beat me in it because they got it at the committee meeting. I didn't have emails, and we just had conversations, and they basically weren't being truthful about what happened. But we did get good law, and in that case, the court told the city of Fort Smith that if you want to know how to define a meeting, then go to the legislature and tell them to redefine what a meeting is. And long story short, they never have. 3 sessions have passed since then. They're going back up to the Supreme Court to ask the Supreme Court to decide what a meeting is. They're just going to waste our money. I mean, how much arrogance is it when you're caught secretly discussing our public business on emails, and then you're appealing it up to the Supreme Court? I mean, of course, when you're spending other people's money, it's pretty easy, Paul.
Hey, it sounds like we've got a problem with prosecutorial discretion basically being an option for government officials to basically disregard the law. And I see that with police officers as well, with officer discretion. Is there not anything we can do? I've heard of the notion of a writ of mandamus, try to get a government official to do their job. Is there anything that we can do to get a prosecutor to prosecute criminals, especially when the criminals are government agents?
And I got to say, I really respect Danny Shue in Fort Smith, and I basically wanted to get the foundation laid the first time, because if and when, I would say when they do it again, and he's elected official, so the ballot box is if people are unsatisfied with that. There's been one time in particular that I thought he really should have prosecuted, but it's been his. If they do it once, unless it's, he's basically giving them a pass. Now he's sending out a letter saying you better not let it happen again, or you'll get prosecuted. So that does send a deterrent message. Yes, ma'am.
When is, you said y'all have a meeting on Tuesday. When and where is it?
It's in Fort Smith. March 6th, is that right?
You got it, March 6th.
March 6th at 5 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll have it at the Doubletree in Fort Smith. And I should say, for example, the last meeting that we had, we were right in the middle of this And I invited elected officials to come, and I invited the city board to come, and 3 of them did show up. And it was a lively discussion. They're back there defending, these secret emails and saying they don't know what a meeting is. So, how can you not know? I mean, I tell them, look, there's no difference between you getting on an email and deciding our public business, whether it's electing officers or deciding who's going to be on the Civil Service Commission or doing away with the civil service. There's no difference between that and a group of you going down to the local pizza parlor, sitting in the back room and discussing it. How's there any difference? I mean, but it's just their way to. And we had a judge in Fort Smith actually the first time around who declared the whole Freedom of Information Act unconstitutional. I mean, he literally took the city's brief and went with it. One of the things I want to mention here, FOIA, while we have the strongest FOIA, one of the areas that Governor Rockefeller knew that he could not go in FOIA, and one of the areas that probably in 2019, and I'll need this group's support, what I want to do is I want to make state legislators accountable to FOIA. Where Bob Ballinger and whoever he wants to talk about Senate bill, our FOIA bill 373.
You mean like the JPs?
Huh?
You mean like the JPs?
JPs?
No, I mean like the JPs, like the Justice of the Peace. They can't have private meetings.
Correct.
You mean like that?
Like JPs, like school boards, where
I want that very much so. I want that.
Yeah, where state legislators. They can't go into the back room and decide, well, this is how I'm going to vote. Hey, and by the way, if you vote for me this time, I'll vote for you next time. And hey. So I don't want them to have those discussions. I want them to have their discussions in the committee room where we can see it. And I'd also like.
Well, while we're at it, have them have them record their votes as well. Well, let me say this, guys. Okay, so we're going down this path. We're going to ask everybody in here, if you're interested in this, to speak up. Let somebody know. Let Jim or myself or you, Bob, let us know that you're interested in initiating or putting in place a TIGG here in Faulkner County, and with that, then it could be something that would be not a part of the Faulkner County Tea Party, but maybe a separate TIGG, separate and apart. But we would also engage with them. So members of this group could set up that TIGG. Now, one of the things that I've grown to know is that you have to have legal counsel, or locally, and so that's something that once a TIGG is established, we'll need to find some legal counsel. Maybe Joey will help us in that regard to build something along those lines. And so, just as a show of hands, do y'all see this as something that you might suggest that we do? Setting up a TIGG. Is that okay?
David, I would say, I can't speak for Joy. I will spend as much time as I can and my own money. I guess you did pay for this right here, but I'll pay for it. I fund all of what we do. And I'll spend as much time. This is very sacred to me almost. If you all will want to do this, I'll do everything I can.
And I will too. I'll do whatever I can do to help you.
If we had a group like this in every county in Arkansas, just one in every county, I'll guarantee you'd see some real positive things happen in Arkansas.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad it appears it's almost unanimous that people want to participate in this. So, and I know Mike will be around. I'm sorry I didn't meet you up front, Mike, to say something about this, but we'll be able to talk with Jim and try to pull together, get somebody to take lead on this. And once that we can establish that, then we'll use these gentlemen to advance the TIGG for Faulkner County. So with that, Don.
Okay. 48 people in attendance. $93 in donations.
Thank you all very much for your time.
Okay, and with that, I'll turn it over to Jim, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming and being with us and sharing. Appreciate it very much.
Wait a minute. I just got a $30 addition. Oh, that's coming. Oh. And another $30 addition. Wowee. Whoa, what a great day.
Okay, while we're closing down here, guys, listen, thanks a lot to everybody. Again, elections are starting. This is election season. Today was a deadline at noon for everybody to be able to file as running for office. Guys, pay attention. We've talked about the school board. We've talked about the city council, foreign court, and the state legislature. So, guys, pay attention to what's going on. Okay, listen to the radio. If you haven't heard the radio, you might want to listen to Paul and Earl in the mornings. I mean, it's a great radio show. Dave Ellsworth is online. Everybody is hammering away at what's going on in Little Rock. So, if you want to look, if you want to learn a little bit more, yes, ma'am.
Real quick, now that the filing period is over at noon today, keep a close eye on the legislature because now they're going to start moving forward. Now they know who their opponents are. They're going to be taking action in the next few days. You watch.
Okay, Don.
Okay. Another $25 in donation. Thank you. And another 15. Another.
I just wanted to make a quick. I've talked to y'all about bringing books to veterans. I found out just recently that they also like magazines. So if you have magazines at home, they'd be glad to have them.
Let me in what you just got to say, though, guys. If you do have magazines, you get them in the mail. Make sure that you take your address off the back of that magazine for fear of basically somebody copying your name and everything and all your contact information, identity theft. So make sure you take that off. Again, thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all, first, I really thank you for having on panel, really enjoyed it. And in addition, we're helping Mom and Elle get out the vote about their tax hike. They're trying to come out March 3rd, special election 6. So I sure would appreciate anybody to help them make a phone call.